The aim of boxing is to hit and not get hit, and both sides of the equation are just as important. It's all well and good being able to land your shots, but you need to know how to defend as well. So in this video, we're going to go on a full exploration of every corner of defense, focusing mainly on the basics, but we'll go into the more intermediate advanced stuff too. Whilst you listen to me, I've had 30 amateur boxing fights and I've coached over 100 people online, along with plenty of people in person too. So yeah, starting with hand defenses. Now the first thing you need to know about hand defenses is you've got two lanes that you need to control. You've got a center line coming down the center of your body, and everything to the rear side, i.e. my right side if I'm orthodox, is controlled by my rear hand, and everything to my lead side or my left side is controlled by my lead hand. Okay. So if my opponent is the same stance as me, any punches that they throw from their lead hand will come down my rear hand lane, and it's going to be controlled with my rear hand here. Okay. Anything coming from their rear hand will be controlled by my lead hand lane, because it's going to be coming this side of my body. So we'll start off with catches and parries. A catch is where you just block this lane generally with your rear hand, because it's going to be a jab. Now with a catch, we only really want to catch a jab. We can catch a cross, but there's too much force coming from that rear hand. So we generally just catch the jab, because it can't put as much power into that. And we don't need to take it off course. We can instead just stop it in its tracks. And we do that by just turning my hand from here to here. All I'm doing is just turning my hand over like this and putting a little bit of resistance behind it to stop it in its tracks. I'm putting it in front of my chin here. So it's still off to that rear hand lane, but I'm just stopping it before it gets to my chin. Okay. And then we can counter over that straight away. But if we are countering off that catch, then it needs to be instant. Catch and fire back straight away. Now with parries, this is where we, instead of blocking and stopping that punch in its tracks, we instead use its momentum and take it off course like this. Okay. So all I'm doing is just tapping it to the side. Remember, we're getting the right lanes. So my opponent is the same stance as me. He's going to be throwing his cross. I'm going to use my lead hand to defend against it. Okay. Now with a parry, I used to say that, rotate your body with it, but instead I find that it's most effective when you just sort of put your hand in front of your face like this. You go to catch it, but as you catch it, you just push off to the side. It's just a gentle little tap. This is great when it's paired with footwork, so you can step back with it, or you can step to the side and counter that way. Okay. So that's the catch and the parry. I've got an online coaching program, the first of its kind, taking beginners to competent boxers through a boxing roadmap that condenses lessons and drills into easy follow-along workouts with constant feedback from me and my team of coaches. We also have calls on a regular basis where I just analyse how good you are at boxing and produce some pretty good results. You can see those results on hybridwarriorelite.com, or just click the top link in the description. And hopefully I'll see you in there. We can also defend down the center line. So we talked about the two lanes either side, but what if a punch is coming directly at my head? Well, we can bring our hands together like this by making, as if we're holding binoculars, right, up to our eyes like this. But we use the top of our first finger like that to sort of trace our eyebrows. And when you've got gloves on, you should make a little window here, which you'll be able to look through. You'll be able to see the shots coming, and you can just take a little bit of force out of the punches by just bringing your hands together ever so slightly as they come in. Yeah, your thumbs want to be on the temple like this, and this offers like a good solid bit of cushioning to the blow. You can also block body shots coming straight down the center line here. So that's the full block. Then we've got blocking to the flanks. So we've had either lanes. If I've got the center line, we could also, what if they get round the back of this guard or round the back of our catches and parries? Well, then we can block from the sides. So if we start in our normal stance, our hands should be close enough to these blocking places so that we can just do a slight little movement here to be able to block those shots coming around the flanks. So if someone's throwing a hook, all I'm going to do is bring my rear hand or if someone's throwing a lead hook, if they're the same stance as me, bring my rear hand, I'm just going to bring it up to my temple like this. And as I do that, just taking my chin slightly out of the way of it. That just takes the blow, okay? If you move your chin away, it just puts your head in a safer position and gives you a little bit more cover like this. So all I'm doing, bringing my hand from here to here, right? Just that's like so. And then with the lead side, if they're throwing a rear hook, it's coming from that side, then I'm just bringing my hand from here where it should be, which is like just below eye level, about mouth height, and we're just bringing it up to there like this, okay? So we're just blocking that side. That's all it is. You can rotate slightly as you do this. If you rotate your body into the punch, so let's say a rear hook's come here, as soon as I've caught that, I can catch and counter with my lead hook. The reason you do it with the same hand and the reason why you'd rotate into it is because if I catch here and they throw a shot from this side, then that side of their face would be open, and therefore that gives me the chance to land my counter punch. Same goes if they throw a shot coming this way, catch here, and then I can come up the side where they're most open from throwing their shot. Okay, because I'm open from this side, they'd be able to get in this gap here. Same as going from there, they'd be able to get in this gap here. Okay, so it's all about catching and countering with the same hand. So a little lean as we block, taking chin away, and then catch and counter. You also need to know how to block the flanks of the body. So we've talked about how you can bring your elbows in just to catch someone's in the middle. But what if they feint down the middle and then go around the side? You need to be able to block the sides. And you don't do that by dropping your hand like this. Okay, so don't come from this guarded position here and just drop your hands to block the body. Instead, you bend at the torso like this, bend at your stomach, and you want to decrease the distance from your temple or where your hand is to your hip like this. Doing that means that your forearm can cover a lot more distance, and therefore you can block more area of your body. So all you do is you just bend down and catch the shots like this. Okay, so try not to drop your hand because they could always feint down there and then come to the head. If you drop your hand, then you leave your head open. So instead, just little bends like this. So your forearm can cover more space. You don't get hit in the body. The easiest way to defend is defending with your feet. So now we're going to go over some foot defenses. And the most basic one is, of course, stepping out of range. There's a couple of ways you can do this. First of all, taking your back foot first, then your front foot. I've stepped out of range. They've missed their shots. I can step back in with mine, or they might come forward again and I can walk them onto punches after I've stepped out of range. So just one step or a couple steps, getting them to come forward to walk them onto things. We could also just take one foot at a time. So I could just take my back foot now out of range and I could come back in with shots like this. So I could take out of range and then come back in and throw my punches. I could also nick skip out of range. So I could push off with my front foot. As I do that, bring my front foot in first, then my back foot will follow. So it's like this. Get out of range. So there's three ways that you can step out of range. Back foot first, back foot and then back in, or nick skip out of range like so. We can also step to the sides. So I can do that with one foot at a time. Could do that with both feet. Or I could shift. Like so. We could also use a bit more of a pendulum step. So if we're on the edge of range here, I can just push back with both my feet at the same time and just jump out of range like this. Okay. Now, when you do this, make sure you never leap miles out of range, because in boxing, you're meant to be as close to the edge of range or in range as possible at all times. If you spend loads of time way out of range, you're just wasting energy. So you want to be as close as you can to your opponent at all times without getting hit. Okay, but we don't just want to take ourselves out of range. We've got to do something with that. So once we've gone back, however we do it, we want to take an angle. So I've got myself out of range. Now there's several ways we can take an angle. We can either just pivot like this, pivot the other way, 90 degrees, where I'm shifting my weight slightly forward, scraping my back foot around, not leaning over my front foot like this, and pivoting on the ball of my foot. Or I could add a little step before it, where I'm stepping, then pushing off, pivoting, or going the other way. Another way you can do this is by stepping out of range and using the L step, where I'm pushing off my front foot and replacing my back foot with my front foot, and then pushing my rear foot out to the side, so this. And then stepping my lead foot across. Or I could do this by L stepping, side stepping round back to the center of the ring. There's no point in me teaching you about trunk defenses because you probably know about trunk defenses. So I'm going to still teach you about them, but I'm going to teach you about them in a way where they're actually useful. And that is by letting them flow together. Okay. There's no point being able to just slip and then just standing there. Okay. We need to get all the slips, the rolls, the pulls, everything moving in conjunction. I think that was the right word. And we do that by practicing these sort of drills, which I'm going to give you now. First one is knee touches. So this one's for slips. Touch your lead knee with your right hand like this. This gives you a point of reference for where your slip should be. And then touch your lead hand to your rear knee like this. Do that whilst, don't like twerk your ass around like this when you do it, because I noticed a lot of people do this. Just move your torso to that point there. Okay. That gives you a point of where you need to slip to. Once you got this motion down, then bring your hands up and just keep doing this. If you fall off where you need to be, then go back to this and just keep switching between them. Okay. Now from here, I can dip my knees and come down as I rotate back. And as I come back up here, come up to here, where I can touch my rear knee. I'm in my lead knee, where I'm in my other slip position. That is what you call a roll. And then I'm just going to come back to here. So I can slip, come down, back to this position, and then back up to here. So I draw in a circle with your nose. So we've got the knee touches, and we've got the slips, and then we're just going to combine a roll in those slips, okay? So now we've got slips and rolls. Next thing we're going to do is combine slips with the pull. So the pull is where you're leaning back to here, where your torso's roughly the same angle as your front thigh. And it's just taking your head out of range for a split second. And this works really well when you slip. So just go back to the knee touches, head off the center line. And in between, I'm just going to go pull, back to a slip, pull, back to a slip. We're just going to practice this first. I'll go from the side. And then I'm just going to do it without the knee touches. Get used to this. Go back into some slips and add some rolls. And here we've combined all those different types of head movements. So it's important that you combine these together and you don't just learn, okay, I'm just going to slip here and slip here. A lot of people, when I coach them, when I'm like, move your head, they just do like one trunk defense. You need to get them flowing together. It needs to be smooth. Think of it like this. If every time you move your head, you just go from this static position here to this static position here, and then back to this static position here, you've actually spent quite a bit of time with your head still and it hasn't been moving. But if your head's in constant motion, then you're a lot trickier to hit, especially if you're mixing all different types of head movement patterns. Okay, so we want that head movement to be nice and slow and linking into each thing. In between all your punches, your attacks, and during your footwork is to have a rhythm of left to right like this. Okay, so everything is just in constant motion. And then what you can do from there is you can throw punches off it. Because when I slip to here, it's set me up for a rear hand shot, or when I've slipped to here, set me up for a lead hand shot. So that left to right motion as you're moving around, mixed in with them rolls and pulls, is actually super effective for throwing your punches off. It makes you much harder target to hit. So give that a try, combining that head movement with your punches, with your footwork. You'll be a much better boxer. Okay, bye.